Hey, NIO fam, happy Wednesday to you. It is Wednesday, September 24th, 2025, and I'll give you a specific timestamp a little later in the video when we come back and talk about stock price and the action of what I saw today and what I'm thinking with respect to that. But I've got a lot queued up actually to go through. Let's start big picture. This is the big picture overview as I see it. The Chinese car market, basically the PV stands for passenger vehicle brands. And there are three segments is the way that I'm thinking about this. The green represents the battery electric vehicles, or BEVs, which of course are all that NIO sells. And then you've got the blue, which represents ICE or gas sales. And those are eventually going to be phased out completely from the Chinese market into the future. So there is still a lot of blue that will be replaced with either the green or the orange. The orange, of course, representing the EREVs, extended range EVs, essentially hybrids, is the way I think about it anyway. But if you'll notice just how much, and especially the premium or luxury brands, Audi, BMW, and Mercedes, each of those have sold over 300,000 premium and luxury vehicles that are gas sales or ICE sales. In the future, that represents a whole lot that are going somewhere else, a lot of market share that NIO can still be taking. And so, this is very positive, I believe, as we see probably a pivot point with more eyes than ever within the Chinese market becoming aware of and turning towards NIO across their brands. And so here's the specific breakdown just for the BEVs. And you've got NIO at the 11 spot year to date. And of course, that's without the ES8, which really is going to help propel those numbers and bump them up by the end of the year. But then Onvo also, with this is basically just 1 month of the Onvo L90 numbers, it's probably going to move up the chart as well. But both making it within the top 20, I think that's phenomenal. Especially, I want to offer this within the last, I think it was within the last year in an earnings call, William Li mentioned that at that time, NIO was getting about half of their sales from just one small region within the country of China. So that told me we were still at a very early stage from the standpoint of, market awareness. And so the brands, as they become more recognized, and especially with what we're seeing with so many sales of the Onvo L90, which, by the way, this is just the August numbers, and they made the top 20 with basically their first month out. We'll probably see the ES8 popping up here in a couple of months. I don't know that they will do enough just in 10 days of September to make it for September, but this is exactly what I think we're seeing as a beautiful pivot point for more folks to become aware of NIO and the NIO brand, all three of the brands, including the two sub-brands. I love this breakdown, and so I wanted to share it. I'll link everything, by the way, that I'm sharing in the video in the description so you can check it out for yourselves, but I really like this. And also, I like that NIO decided to wait on the L80 with so much demand, and frankly, them having a challenge to get production up to where they can meet the demand for the Onvo L90 and now for the ES8. That's phenomenal. That's great. And I think we're really seeing the beginning of the tipping point for NIO with respect to, as I labeled it, the first market awareness phase, that first major growth phase for NIO, as I cited it years ago. This is a great read. And again, I'll link it so you can check it out for yourselves. But this was before the deliveries of ES8 had started, but it gives you a little background, some insights, some details as to what was going on with Factory 3 for NIO kind of behind the scenes. So I wanted to share that as well. Also, this is another phenomenal share, and it does have the Q&A that they compiled. Again, some really nice, juicy details in here. And, they talk about, and we'll actually talk more about this 40,000 as kind of the goal for the ES8 from essentially the start of deliveries, roughly September 20th or 21st through the end of the year, just of the ES8. Also, this is a video that was really good as well. And, I think it's a good time to remind folks, or to maybe, bring us back to the reality of the view of the guy running the company has always been very long-term. That's been his view. And even at this stage, talking about, the finalists, this is kind of the final push, and maybe another 10 years. So, I think it's important to recognize that, especially as I've been talking a lot more about stock price and things in the shorter term recently. This, I just want to offer a few of the shares with the actual deliveries that have started. And the date on this is September 23rd when they're sharing this. Also, a couple more things, and this is, I think, the key to the September numbers and the delivery record that I do think we'll see, and hopefully NIO hitting guidance is going to be, this is integral. The Onvo L90, especially as we saw the L60 numbers drop off a little bit with the refresh coming, those deliveries of the Onvo L60 will be in October. So maybe they did this very intentionally so that they could, and knowing that they needed to focus on getting more of the Onvo L90s delivered in this month of September. And with only 10 days of the ES8, I do think that it makes sense for them to have done this. So this is kind of a reaffirmation as well. And both of these posts are from September 23rd as well. The production target of 15,000 for the Onvo L90, but that's in October. So this is the part that I really like. Starting this week, deliveries of the L90s, so from Onvo, will be accelerated to get cars to users as soon as possible. So I think that's going to be the key driver for the September numbers and probably for guidance, although the ES8 is definitely going to help. By the way, this is a bit of the rumor mill. Folks are talking about how it's maybe a 6-month out for the ES8. And I did want to offer this. I looked up and saw when Chinese New Year is going to be. It's going to be in February in 2026. And so during that time, I don't expect a lot to be going on, but that also means that perhaps NIO will have incredibly strong delivery numbers in January, which cyclically, that's usually a challenging time for all automakers in China. So that would be huge. That will be fun to track both the Onvo L90 numbers and the ES8 from NIO into January. So this is also, again, we're talking about all three brands. As I mentioned before, I think this is a great time, a pivot point where more eyes are becoming aware of all three brands from NIO and the NIO Group as a whole. This is a reference to the Firefly having more demand and being even better embraced than what was expected from NIO. And then there's this. And I still say, I've said it for a very long time, that NIO is going to surprise with their autonomous driving. But I don't think they're going to sacrifice safety. They will focus on safety first. And that's why they're not going to showcase just how far advanced they are yet. And so I do think that this is something that, will do well to continue to track. Also, I shared it in a previous video, and I don't know if any other folks have talked about it or are aware of it, but there was an interest that was given to Ren Xiaoqing for one of the entities that NIO has. And I think the interest that he was given was specifically because of his contributions to the autonomous driving. I think that's a nod to him and NIO actually being a leader, but it's just a matter of when they're going to want to flex and showcase that. And I don't know if that'll be, I kind of don't think it'll be in this year of 2025, maybe in 2026 with the Gen 5 power swap stations, which, by the way, I did have a tab, but I didn't have it queued up. So I'll just reference it. If the rumor is correct, the Gen 5 stations, the power swap stations, may be able to hold 50 batteries. And if that's the case, then that makes the energy play even more compelling. And for, I think, any smart governments globally who want to reinforce or support their grid on the micro level could do so through the means of an implementation of the power swap stations. So, again, just a lot of bullish stuff ahead, I think, for NIO. Now let's talk stock price in the short term. We've got the reversal point, as I've been calling it, from around July 10th, 11th, we'll say. And the stock price has gone from $3.75. It's has it doubled? I think it's maybe doubled at the high. Yeah, high of, I think we've gone above that. 760, I think. Anyway, roughly a double. And right now it feels like it's consolidating. On the super short term this morning, the 4 a.m. Eastern time and the 8 a.m. Eastern time, those 5-minute incremental windows were both green. And so maybe not surprising, we had a nice green day for the stock. By the way, I think this is very bullish and positive that it was lower than 100 million shares traded today. In fact, lower than 70 million shares traded. And yet it was still a positive day for the stock. That seems bullish even in the super short term. So feels like maybe we're still consolidating, maybe before that next move up. And I will link the video where I gave kind of the price targets and what I'll be watching to the upside. And then also if it comes back to the downside, it's a longer kind of a deep dive that I offered, but I think it really validated the importance of trade volume and how that is a super short-term indicator for us to track. But this is probably already a longer than 8-minute video. Oh yeah, so I will create chapters and links and share everything in the description of the video. Thanks for sticking around to the end. I'll see y'all again very soon.